They called it the Holy Roman Empire, the rebirth of ancient Rome under the cross of Christ, an empire that sought to unite heaven and earth, faith and power, the divine and the human. But for all its glory, it was never truly holy, never truly Roman, and, in the end, barely an empire at all. This is the story of how one man's dream of unity became Europe's thousand-year struggle between God and kings, from Charlemagne to chaos. The birth of a dream. When the Western Roman Empire collapsed in the 5th century, Europe fell into darkness, divided by warlords, tribes, and memory. Yet, the dream of Rome never truly died. In the scattered kingdoms of the West, the idea of a united Christendom, guided by both sword and scripture, lingered like an ember waiting to reignite. That ember found its flame in Charlemagne, king of the Franks. By the year 800, his conquests stretched from the Pyrenees to the Alps. But Charlemagne wanted something greater than land. He wanted legitimacy. On Christmas Day, 800 AD, in St. Peter's Basilica, Pope Leo III placed a crown on Charlemagne's head and declared him Emperor of the Romans. In that moment, a new empire was born, the Holy Roman Empire. To some, it was divine destiny. To others, a political miracle. But within that coronation lay a contradiction. If the empire was holy, did power come from God's church or from the emperor's sword? That question would define a millennium of conflict. The crown and the cross. The Holy Roman Empire was never a single nation. It was a delicate web of loyalties, kings, bishops, and free cities bound by oaths and ambition. At its heart stood a fragile partnership between the altar and the throne. After Charlemagne's death, the empire fragmented. His grandsons divided his lands, and what remained of imperial unity dissolved into chaos. It would take another ruler, Otto I of Saxony, to revive it. In 962, Otto was crowned emperor, marking the rebirth of the imperial title under German kings. The empire now stretched across Central Europe, but it was also a battlefield, not of armies, but of ideas. Who truly ruled Christendom? The Pope, chosen by God, or the Emperor, chosen by men, but crowned by the Church? This question erupted in the investiture controversy of the 11th century, when Emperor Henry IV challenged Pope Gregory VII over who had the right to appoint bishops. The Church struck back, excommunicating him. Desperate, Henry crossed the Alps barefoot, kneeling in the snow at Canossa, begging the Pope's forgiveness. It was a symbolic defeat, the might of empire humbled by the authority of faith. And yet, beneath the ritual, the struggle was far from over. The empire ascends. By the 12th century, the empire had become a masterpiece of medieval design. Sprawling territories connected by law, faith, and fragile diplomacy. Under Frederick Barbarossa, it reached its golden age. Barbarossa sought to restore imperial unity, to bring the proud Italian city-states under his rule, and to remind Europe that the empire still stood for order and glory. But ambition comes at a price. His wars against the papacy and the northern Italian communes drained the empire's strength. When Barbarossa drowned during the Third Crusade, legend said he would one day return, a sleeping emperor beneath the mountains, waiting to restore unity. His grandson, Frederick II, was unlike any ruler Europe had seen, a philosopher, scientist, and skeptic of papal authority. To the Church, he was dangerous, the Antichrist in imperial robes. To historians, he was a glimpse of the Renaissance before its time. When he died in 1250, the empire fell into disarray. For decades, no single ruler could claim the imperial crown. The interregnum, a time without an emperor, nearly ended the dream. But the empire did not die. It simply adapted, becoming less of a kingdom and more of an idea, a federation of princes and cities tied together by memory, not command. The Patchwork Empire, By the 14th century, the Holy Roman Empire was no longer the unified realm of Charlemagne. It had become a mosaic, hundreds of duchies, bishoprics, and city-states, each jealous of its own power. Emperor Charles IV codified this system in 1356 with the Golden Bull, declaring that 7 electors, 3 archbishops and 4 secular princes, would choose each new emperor. It was practical politics, but it made the empire less a monarchy and more a contract. Still, despite its complexity, the empire endured. It became a space where medieval traditions met new ideas. Law, universities, art, and philosophy all flourished. But beneath the surface, unity was fading. The seeds of rebellion had already been planted, in faith itself. The Reformation. In 1517, a German monk named Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses to a church door in Wittenberg. He challenged the corruption of the church, but in doing so, he also challenged the foundations of the Holy Roman Empire. Luther's words spread like wildfire. Princes embraced Protestantism to assert independence from Rome. Commoners found in his message the promise of direct faith, no longer mediated by popes or emperors. The empire fractured not by war, but by belief. The reigning emperor, Charles V, ruled vast lands from Spain to the Americas, yet he could not contain the spiritual earthquake shaking his heartland. His dream of a united Christian empire collapsed under the weight of religious division. By the Peace of Augsburg in 1555, Charles was forced to accept a grim compromise. Each ruler could choose the religion of his own territory. Unity was gone. Faith had become a matter of borders. The Holy Roman Empire had survived centuries of external wars, but the Reformation tore it apart from within. The age of war and chaos. In 1618, a spark in Bohemia ignited a firestorm, the 30 Years' War. What began as a Protestant rebellion grew into a continent-wide catastrophe. Armies marched, villages burned, and Europe bled. The war was not only about religion, it was about survival, about the balance of power, the rise of nations, and the decline of empire. By the time it ended in 1648, the Peace of Westphalia had redrawn Europe. The empire remained, but hollowed. Its princes gained near-complete independence. The emperor was now a figurehead, a relic of a fading idea. Once the Holy Roman Empire claimed to unite all Christendom. Now it was a fragmented landscape of sovereign states, a ghost of what it had been. Enlightenment and the end. The 18th century brought a new kind of revolution, not of swords, but of thought. Philosophers questioned monarchy, religion, and divine order itself. The Holy Roman Empire, bound by medieval laws, began to feel ancient in a world of reason. Meanwhile, 2 powers, Austria and Prussia, rose within its borders, overshadowing the rest. The empire became a stage for their rivalry rather than a source of unity. Then came Napoleon Bonaparte, a new emperor, this time born not of divine coronation, but of revolution. In 1806, his armies swept across Europe, dismantling centuries of feudal order. Facing defeat, Emperor Francis II renounced the title of Holy Roman Emperor. After 1,000 years, the empire ended, not in battle, but in resignation. Its crown, once placed upon Charlemagne's head in a holy ceremony, was now a symbol without a throne. Legacy of a lost empire. The Holy Roman Empire was never what its name claimed. It was not truly holy, for its politics often overshadowed its faith. It was not truly Roman, for it ruled lands far from the eternal city. And it was barely an empire, fragmented, contested, and fragile. Yet, it endured for a millennium. Why? Because it was more than a state. It was an idea, the belief that law, faith, and power could coexist in a world constantly pulling them apart. It gave birth to the foundations of European thought, universities that shaped science, legal systems that influenced democracy, a spirit of inquiry that led to both Reformation and Enlightenment. In its struggle between church and state, it defined the modern world's balance between conscience and authority. Its story is not simply of decline, but of transformation. Out of its ruins rose nations, philosophies, and freedoms it could never have imagined. The Holy Roman Empire's greatest legacy was not its power, but its paradox. It revealed that even the grandest human systems, built in God's name, are still human, flawed, divided, impermanent. Final reflection. When Charlemagne was crowned in 800, he dreamed of uniting the world under heaven's light. 1,000 years later, that light had dimmed, but not vanished. The empire had fallen, yet its echoes remained in the laws we write, the nations we form, and the questions we still ask. Can faith and power truly coexist? Can the divine be bound to the ambitions of men? And when empires rise claiming to serve eternity, how long before time humbles them? The Holy Roman Empire tried to bind heaven and earth with a crown. In the end, it proved that even crowns of gold cannot hold eternity. If you found this story fascinating, like, share, and subscribe to Timeless Questions channel, where we explore the civilizations, ideas, and mysteries that shaped humanity.